Damn, 20 years old and you're shining. You went down different route in terms of getting into the property space.
I got into the industry very untraditionally. Something that people don't tend to do straight away is real estate is not just residential, it's very much commercial. I'm literally dropping the gems right now. These are the companies that you should look out for when applying for apprenticeships. A little hack is
Entrepreneurial life is not for the faint-hearted.
I know some people that have actually been able to make millions from strategically working well with their money when they were in their 9 to 5.
How are you with managing money? And we are back, and today we have money in the building. Mrs. High Net Worth Liaison Officer. Different routes into real estate. We first met at the Gen Z Real Estate Conference.
Yes, we did.
And I found out what you do, and I said, damn, 20 years old and you're shining.
Thank
You're
you.
already 3 years into your industry.
Yeah.
Like, for me, mentally, that sounds crazy because I feel like at 17, like, I was still trying to work out whether or not I could get up before midday. So talk to me about,
Still real.
you went down a different route in terms of getting into the property space.
Yeah.
So for those that are not familiar with you, haven't heard of you in the past, MFG, Mary Felicia Gomez. Yeah, we like MFG.
MFG, my main nickname at work.
At work,
and that was a good ring to it.
Yeah, it's got a good, like, it just flows. And for people like me that just struggle with names, I'm like, that's perfect for remembering everybody's name all the time.
Yeah.
But for people that are not as familiar with you, talk to me about how you got into your industry.
So my name's Mary Felicia. Some people call me MFG. And I got into the industry very untraditionally, and that was via the degree apprenticeship route. So I literally was in sixth form. Everyone was applying for university, getting their UCAS applications in. And I was just so put off with the uni lifestyle. I don't know what it is, but I literally just did a quick search of like uni kitchens and I was just put off, and I was like, I don't really want to experience that. But also I was very motivated to work as well and just get that practical experience. So I was keen to get into the real estate industry, but was like, how can I do this? How can I break into this at a young age? Because I was 17 at the time. So I was like, I have to get experience. So I worked in a small estate agent, and my sixth form was still pushing us to apply for our UCAS, do our personal statements. So I did that, but that was kind of my plan B. And when I worked in the estate agents, I met surveyors and I got to do viewings. I was drawing floor plans, like helping create the brochures and marketing materials. And I worked with the sales team and the lettings team. So I had a really great foundational knowledge. And then I was like, why can't I take this further? And through me meeting those chartered surveyors, they're basically real estate professionals who are accredited by the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors, and a really great qualification to get. They always had positive responses on how they find their career. So I literally just searched top real estate firms in the UK and it came up with big firms. And then I was like, I really hope to do apprenticeships, because that's something which I've seen a lot of, but not so much people talking about their experiences. It was very, very rare at the time. So I literally searched for real estate apprenticeship. It came up with things. I applied for it and I managed to get 2 offers from the 2 top firms that I really wanted to get into. And I also got an offer for university, but I declined it. And then I went for the top firm, my favorite one.
Okay, let's go back a little bit, because you're 16, you're at sixth form. Why were you so interested in property? Where did that focus come from?
I was always fascinated by buildings and just the fact that everything that we do in life, it revolves around buildings. Like, we're filming this in a building, we go to work, we go to school in a building, we live in buildings. And it always fascinated me. And I felt like I really had that curiosity to learn more about it. And I also have, my dad would always tell me about his nephew, who, I'm originally from the Gambia, and he works in...
I like that. It's called the Gambia.
It's called the Gambia. It's the only country in Africa, or just the world, sorry, that starts with the.
Yeah, I like that. It kind of sets you apart.
The Gambia. And he basically does property all over Africa and kind of specializes in like Ghana, Gambia. And he's doing really well. So I was really curious to also kind of create a foundational like legacy for the family as well.
So that was kind of your proof of concept. You'd seen somebody effectively within your own network that was absolutely killing it, doing it. So you said, okay, cool. There's legs in this.
Yeah.
But then before you got to the degree apprenticeship role, you still, again, 16, I'm saying I'm still trying to probably play football. I don't know, whatever else I'm doing.
Yeah.
But you also then, you know, wanted to get a job that wasn't just your typical, and there's still great jobs, like whether it's JD, O2, and etc.
I actually worked at JD. That was my first job.
I worked in JD?
Yeah.
I feel like JD is a proper rite of passage. It's like, and it just looks like vibes.
It
Everyone
is
that's in
actually
JD
quite
just seems like they're having a good time.
It was actually quite good. That was my first job and I was 16. And I worked there. I was like a Christmas temp role though. And then, then I worked in a catering role in a hospital near where I lived. And then I worked in estate agents.
So you've always been quite a grafter.
Yeah.
Do you think that like is something, is it just you, like you've just always been a grafter, or do you think it's something that was instilled to you from your parents?
I definitely will give the props to my parents because they've always been motivating, like I'm always motivated by them and like their dedication. Like they came to this country and then set a great foundation up for themselves. My dad, I always forget about this, but before I was actually born, my dad actually bought a apartment in King's Cross. And at the time property prices were super low there, and he eventually had sold it, and we were renting in like northwest London and moved to like the East Midlands where my family are based now. But I was always motivated by their dedication, like always working different jobs, working late shifts, working overtime, and like my mom's always telling me like charity begins at home. So it's like always making sure that you're doing the best that you can for your people. And if you have goals, like no goal is too high. Like I was always motivated for that. And I feel like I always had tough love, even with my siblings as well. Really big tough love. Like I used to be such a crybaby, but I feel like it's molded me into the person I am now and like my confidence and everything.
That's great. So you were then able to transition from JD and from the catering role into getting the role at a stage. And what was actually the interview process like? Was it difficult? Did you have any that you failed at before getting your first one?
With the estate agent role. So it was actually really interesting because I'm like really, I have a really great faith with God. And I made my first ever vision board in like 2022. And essentially what I put on that vision board was, in Selling Sunset, they have these brick walls. Do you know Selling Sunset very well? They have these brick walls, and I just was watching it. I think like just before then, for me making the vision board. So I had those brick walls put onto my vision board, as well as keys and contracts. It was literally just based on property. And in my role in the catering role, I'll get back to this actually in a second, but I essentially printed off my CV. I went to estate agents in the area and I said, I'm very young girl, 17 years old, looking to get into the industry. I would really appreciate if I could get a part-time role, even if that's during the summer period or something. And a lot of the time they'll be like, yeah, we'll pass it on to our manager. The manager was never in, and they were like, we'll email you. What's your email? No one ever got back to me. And then I feel like it all happened through God and my faith. But in my catering role that I was working in, surprisingly, I was asked in the changing rooms by a lady, what do you want to do when you're older? And I said, I want to get into real estate. So she was like, oh my gosh, my daughter's company is actually looking for someone. And I was like, are you serious? This is so random. And I speak to this lady all the time. When I was working in the catering role, I was the youngest person working there. And they were always like inspired by like my ambition. So then she put me in touch with her daughter, and I said, I'm really keen to gain exposure into the industry, build my foundational knowledge. And they were inspired by like how motivated I am being so young. So I applied as normal, as everyone does, and did my interview. And I was against other candidates as well. And like I was the youngest candidate, but I managed to get the role. And the interview process was very much the head of the branch literally asking me questions like, what are you doing and what are you studying, why do you choose real estate? It's really interesting to see that you're wanting to gain exposure so young. Where do you see yourself being in 5 years? That kind of question. And what's your experience? I've had no experience, but managed to get the role.
And I think the great takeaway from that is like two things. Firstly, the importance of verbalizing what you want from life, because it's great to have vision boards, it's great to pray for things, but the
Literally.
reality is you also have to take the actions and the steps of telling people what you want.
That's true.
Otherwise, they can't help.
Yeah, it's like faith without works is dead.
Yeah, I think, and then the other part of it is that, a lot of people would look and just assume that, oh, you just from school, you just firstly I applied for an estate agent because they hear the short story.
Yeah.
I worked at an estate agents, then I got my degree apprenticeships.
Yeah.
But the reality is you worked at JD Sports, you worked in a catering place, you went for numerous job applications, went out there and did the work.
Yeah.
And the luck of the person actually just saying, oh, my daughter's got somewhere came from potentially the knockbacks that you've had, the confidence that you built, knowing what people are looking for, what they maybe want out of somebody in a role. So I think for those that maybe are struggling with getting your first job, securing your first deal, it is like it's a funnel system. You've got to put in the work, and eventually one of those shots will land.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I feel like there's always a journey that you have to take in order to get somewhere, and also like eating the frog first, so like doing the hard things before you get to the easier tasks, like just facing it like face value.
Came out with the West African with the eating the frog.
Me, West Africans, we don't eat frog.
No, but I mean I'm sure that saying is it's not an English.
It's actually not. I don't even know where it's from.
I think I don't know. I've only ever heard it come from the Nigerian side of my family. So maybe I don't know. Maybe it's just something. But yeah, exactly that though. For those that are not familiar, eating the frog means do the hard part, do the stuff that you maybe don't want to do first.
Yeah.
What do you think you actually learned from that first estate agency? Like I know you said you started to work in different areas, but did you learn the area of property that you then wanted to specialize in from that?
That's a really good question. So with the estate agents I was with, they were like the leading within that area, the leading boutique agency. And we basically worked on a lot of countryside homes because it was a rural area. So like proper houses, like detached houses, semi-detached houses, terraced houses.
That's why we started with money.
It was nice. It was really good. And like I got to see like the bad side of things. Like I got to work with the lettings team and do inspections. So essentially what they would do is they're reporting back to the landlord on the condition of the property that they've rented out. So we'd go to some houses and it would literally be like, it's just crazy. Like I've never seen a house trash. Like it was just really bad condition. So we're there taking pictures, making notes to report it to the landlord. So it was a really like varied experience for me. Some days I'll be in the office doing calls. So I was building that experience of phone etiquette as well. It's the little things as well. Because I feel like something I always get told at work now is, oh, like Gen Zs don't want to be on the phone, like, or call on the phone. They'd rather just text and email. They don't want to actually pick up the phone and speak. So I think a really great thing that I managed to gain there was just general phone etiquette and picking up a phone.
And those soft skills.
The soft skills really do matter. Yeah.
And I guess, like, this is probably something you get asked all the time and are still going to get asked because you're still, so young. But being sort of 17 and dealing with somebody's primary asset, a lovely detached home out in a nice area, they've probably got a nice car on the driveway, and you're there having to give them information. How do you convey that with confidence?
With confidence, I feel like it's always not thinking that because you're too young or inexperienced, you can't try your best to go the extra mile. Because sometimes people they won't just see right through it and think, oh, she's young, she doesn't know what she's doing. It's just kind of almost like fake it till you make it. Like being able to rely on those trusted professionals and be curious, ask questions, because you're not going to know everything all the time. So just being honest if you don't understand something, doing all you can to build knowledge on what you don't understand, so you can be more of a well-rounded professional.
And then, so obviously, how long were you actually there for in that first agency?
Literally 7 months.
7 months.
And then at that time, I was also like studying for my A-level exams and doing the A-level exams and everything. And I had to wait for the results in like July time. And I basically applied for the apprenticeship around, let's say February, March. And around March time. And essentially, if you get the role, it's not officially confirmed until you get your A-level results.
Okay.
So there's usually a minimum grade requirement that you need for a degree apprenticeship.
Mm-hmm.
And reason for that is because you're going to be doing university at the same time. So you need to make sure you're meeting literally as you would apply to a normal university. They have grade requirements. But it wasn't too restrictive for this pathway because what I'm studying is real estate management. So I got that official-ish confirmation you've got the role, subject to you receiving these grades when you get your results. So there's a waiting period as well.
And then I guess for like helping those that maybe do want to go down that route of degree apprenticeships, you obviously found yours yourself online, but it's not the standard or conventional route. So for somebody that's looking at it, where would you even find those opportunities?
So I would definitely suggest that there's a lot of something that people don't tend to do straight away.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by the PBK Community. Now, if you're serious about starting or scaling your property portfolio, but you're feeling stuck or feeling like you're running in circles, trust me, I've been there, but listen, you don't have to go it alone. That's why I put together the PBK Community, a space where you get real support, build real connections, and yield real results. Now, we're talking direct access to my power team like lawyers, brokers, architects, and so much more. Bi-weekly Zoom calls with industry pros and template contracts and bespoke tools to make sure you're not wasting time on the wrong moves. And exclusive property deals sourced specifically for members' needs. No fluff, no gimmicks, just support and resources you actually need to level up your property game. This isn't another networking group. It's an elite membership designed for property entrepreneurs who want to be on the inside. We're talking proven systems to streamline your operations, expert-led training to help you work smarter and faster, and a community of like-minded investors. So if you're tired of trying to do it all on your own and you're ready to start implementing the right systems right now, let's book a call with me and my team to chat about how we can make it happen. The link will be in the bio. Now back to the video.
Kind of getting to know what firms are those global leading firms in real estate, and kind of understanding the like what they would prefer to specialize in as well, like, and also understanding that real estate is not just residential, it's very much commercial. Like the firm I work with, it's mainly big in the commercial side. So you've got your CBREs, Savills, Knight Frank, JLLs, Cushman and Wakefield, Allsop. I'm literally dropping the gems right now. These are the companies that you should look out for when applying for apprenticeships. And so directly keeping a look at and tracking the timing that they're releasing their applications, which would usually be around that November to March window, even as early as October, September. And they would directly have vacancies on their websites, also the government website as well. There's a lot of amazing programs like Career Ready, where you can actually join and get summer internships with organizations that allow you to directly go into these companies and get to talk to these professionals, get to understand what their day-to-day role entails. So yeah, no matter what point you are in now, even if you're like a year 12 student, you can try and get those summer internships, reaching out to people on LinkedIn as well, current apprentices, let them know you're an aspiring apprentice, you want to know some top tips on how to gain that role. And if there's also reaching out to even the talent team. So if you just, a little hack is talent acquisition manager at XYZ company, or HR, next gen HR at XYZ company, and ask them those questions. What should I be doing now to prepare myself?
That's great advice, Kad. Now I started to do more like talks in schools, and they're questions that I always get asked, but because that's not my journey, it's different. So now I'm just going to direct them to this podcast and say, listen, all the gems, all the information is going to be there for you. Okay, cool. So talk to me about obviously going into, sorry, what was the name of your degree apprenticeship again?
So it's a real estate degree apprenticeship, but it's also surveying apprenticeship.
Okay. So now we're sort of 2.5, 3 years in.
Yeah, like 2 years, 8 months.
8 months in. Yeah. Okay, so good
so
time.
Specific. I literally checked my LinkedIn before I came.
No problem. So yeah, talk to me about what your role looks like at present.
So my day-to-day role is like always really different. What's really great about the apprenticeship is you get to rotate, and well, some of them you don't, but if you're lucky, you get to rotate into different teams throughout your whole apprenticeship period. So because mine is 4.5 years, every year I get to enjoy the like privilege of joining a new team. So my first year was in residential sales. So essentially I worked for big developers, starting from like selling shared ownership apartments in like Thamesmead, to then dealing with more of your private ownership, like starting 350k for like a 1 bedroom apartment, and then in London. And then I got experience to work in a more prime development in central London where starting prices were like 1.1 million. So throughout that first year, I had a really great scope of experience, and I got to do viewings and then doing deals as well. And I got to work on different sites all the time. My second year was in build to rent leasing. So that's working with top branded residences, and also leading just build to rent developers. So essentially that's apartments that essentially are built for the purpose of renting it out. They tend to have your nice cinema rooms, gyms, co-working spaces for working professionals that just want to rent rather than buy in London. So doing a lot of leasing, that was more fast paced, doing lets consistently, like it was so fast paced and doing lettings. And then now I'm in a team called Private Clients, and we do acquisition, so buying properties for ultra high net worth clients. So they'll come to us with a criteria saying, I'm looking for XYZ in this area, can you help me find it? And also sales, we sell residential stock as well from 10 million plus. And we also, because my firm is mainly commercial, we also are able to sell these ultra high net worth clients the chances of being able to invest in other commercial assets like hotels, retail, offices, and also a bit of advisory. So if someone doesn't know what to do with their portfolio, we can advise on that. So my day is literally always different now in this team because we do all three of those key pillars. One day I could be advising on a hotel portfolio, or I could be helping a family relocate to London. There's a lot of millionaire migration right now. There's a lot of people leaving the UK, but then there's some like Americans coming to the UK right now. So I could be working on something like that, or retail investment. There's just always different things.
So question, what do you enjoy the most at the moment? Like in terms of, do you have an area that you think you're going to specialize in, or are you still just testing the waters?
I really like the buying agency kind of role that I do on a day-to-day. So being given a set of requirements and being able to go out into the market and see what's there for them. And from the beginning stages, getting to know what are your requirements, meeting with them in person, speaking to them, getting to know what their motivations are. I really like that aspect of it, and even networking as well. In this space, I feel like it's so important to know the right people. So like this week I was at 2 great events, like just the other day, back to back, and I met amazing like lawyers, like sports lawyers. Before I didn't even know there was such thing as a sports lawyer.
Yeah.
Sports lawyer, entertainment lawyers, and they are connected with these amazing like people that are doing well in those spaces. So they have the clients that I could assist with their real estate needs. So joining those dots, I
How do
love
you
that.
find your networking events generally?
In this specific team and this space, I feel like it's actually not as intimidating as I thought it might be, because it's very much rapport, like just like how we're talking right now, like just getting to know people, what they do. And in the ultra high net worth space, there's just more and more professions that I'm learning about each time I go as well. Like I'm there talking to tax specialists, immigration specialists, and citizenship specialists as well. Private wealth managers, so speaking with people that run family offices. So family offices, essentially, if you are like a multi-millionaire, you can set up a vehicle for your family where you'd utilize that kind of family office idea where you would invest in different assets and it would benefit your whole family.
No.
So we have people that represent those wealthy people there in those spaces as well, which is really great.
To enjoy. And if someone's looking for those types of events, where can they actually find them?
Oh, I guess it's like very much so. In those spaces, you would have to be in those kind of advisory roles where you're working with those ultra high net worth clients. So I think it's, if you are curious to get into that space and that industry, it's about getting to know like agents, getting to know lawyers, getting to know tax advisors. And if you're a young person wondering what you'd want to do, that might open up your mind into the other routes to working with very wealthy clients.
Good. Now, I see you on social media quite a bit. obviously alongside your full-time work, alongside being very busy, personal life,
Yeah.
why do you still take the time to do a lot on the socials?
I think social media is really important. Like, and I actually enjoy it. I just love making content, and I'm taking that a lot more seriously now. Like, I started doing the content when I was a few months into my apprenticeship, mainly to raise awareness about the real estate apprentice role, because there was no content out there about real estate apprenticeships. So I was like, okay, let me fill that gap in the market and just start sharing some gems. So essentially, I just started by saying POV. I applied for a degree apprenticeship in real estate after sixth form, and now I'm seeing these amazing houses. And then that went viral. So then I was like, okay, let me keep going then. This is pretty nice, really good responses. And from there, over the time, my content has evolved into like day in the lives, property tours as well. And in my firm, that's been very well received, like with our senior leaders, like they're always kind of mentioning and using me as an example when talking to our agents about the importance of social media. And
That's good that they received it well as at a higher level.
yeah,
Because I feel like sometimes the old people, not me, because I'm young, by the way,
he's
despite what you
young.
say when we speak,
Oh no.
don't always understand the social media. So they just look at
Yeah.
you like, oh, just get off the TikTok, like, and come and do the work. But
Yeah.
actually, if you can get a million eyes that are positively directed at your company, you're effectively doing free marketing for your
Literally.
organization.
That's true. And before we get on to that, should we mention the comment that you're referring to as well?
Yeah, well, it was your comment. I was being lovely hosting the Gen Z event.
Oh no.
Despite not being a Gen Z, but somebody decided to highlight that in front of the hundreds of people that were
Let me
there.
just clarify. Basically, guys, Gen Z Club will do an amazing panel. And I was just referring to the crowd as we've predominantly got Gen Zs here. And then as I was saying that we've got people that are not Gen Z, I accidentally looked at Kazy and then
No,
he
she
took it
she
personal.
she said, yeah, we got loads of Gen Zs and some that are not so, and stared in my eyes. But it's fine. We digress. We got on with
We move
the Gen
forward.
Zs, and you're smashing it. So you are forgiven. Look, you're flying at work.
Yeah.
You're making loads of great content. In the content space, I feel like the idea of 9 to 5 gets bashed a lot. Like everybody's very much like very pro entrepreneur, be your own boss, business owner, director, founder, etc.
Yeah.
But obviously you've championed the importance of, work. Like where do you sit in that sort of debate?
That's actually a good point, to be honest. I feel like when it comes to 9 to 5, I think there's definitely ways to leverage your 9 to 5s to get to the goal that you have. Like, you've got stable income coming in, you're gaining those valuable skills that later down the line, if you want to do your own thing, you can, because you've got the track record of maybe deals you've worked on, big clients you've worked on, which the big firms that you work with enable you to have this opportunity to do. And if you're kind of creating content based on that, you can then get attraction from like brand deals. Like now what's amazing is I get emails from different brands saying they'd love to work with me, and it's quite interesting because then that's opened my eyes to like, oh, my income stream doesn't just have to come from the 9 to 5. So
You
it's
say we're doing brand deals now.
yeah, I'm starting that.
Ooh. Listen, watch this space. All right, let's see what we're doing today. We both did the New Balance, and no one's
Oh
even got a
yeah.
sponsorship. So
Literally, this is a
let,
whole
let,
sponsorship
let
right
us
now.
know, because we're trying to, we'll be supporting
Wear them on every episode.
exactly that. Okay,
Yeah.
but like, I think you are like, and I think it's important for there to be big advocates of 9 to 5s, because listen,
So bad.
entrepreneurial life is not for the faint-hearted. You go from everything's amazing to I think the house is burning down to actually know it's okay again. And like, there's so much I learned. Like you talked about your soft skills, speaking on the phone, being able to build rapport, relationships, confidence, like your delivery that you learn while somebody else is paying you, along with actually like, learning what you like. Because you're much better to work out what you like when you're getting paid.
That's
And when you're
true.
getting paid to grow your network, grow your experience, grow your income. Which I think
And
is
I bet
great.
you're working like 9 to 9, 9 to 12, even like maybe at the beginning stages
Yeah,
of setting
like-
up things, but now you might have delegated tasks long, like way down the road.
Yeah.
But starting up entrepreneurial like things. I know this is your podcast, but like I bet it was
Yeah.
not easy. It wasn't a 9 to
No,
5.
no, for sure. Like when I first started, like when I started like the rent to rent company,
Mm-hmm.
I always say like I was doing everything. I'm hanging the curtains, I'm cutting them, I'm ironing them, and if there's some last minute decoration
Ironing
needs to
curtains
be
is
done.
crazy.
Yeah, because you have to do the ironing because you got to take the pictures. Like
Yeah,
they got to look right.
presentable.
Exactly, best foot forward.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was doing on average like 80 hours a week when I first started.
That is insane.
And obviously now it goes, but like sometimes I can still have super busy weeks where I am. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I'll have
Mm-hmm.
amazing weeks where I can spend them overseas. But it's trying to find that, that balance of
Yeah.
there is no such thing as the one size fits all, and you've got to find
Mm-hmm.
your own lane and direction.
That's true. So I think it's like if you are gonna do a 9 to 5, be smart with it. Like not living that pay to paycheck, paycheck to paycheck,
Paycheck to
paycheck
paycheck.
to paycheck mentality where you're like, okay, got to get my money next month and then I'm going to spend it all. Be strategic, like save, invest, think of what your financial goals are long term because you can actually leverage it to the best capabilities. I know some people that have actually been able to make millions from strategically working well with their money when they were in their 9 to 5. And I think even branching out into content, like it brings so many opportunities. Like through my property tours, I've managed to self-generate inquiries, like rental inquiries. I get rental inquiries all the time. People are like, oh, I've been following you for a while, or I've just followed you. I would love for you to help me find my rental. I'm looking to rent in London. I recently got an inquiry for someone looking for a commercial property. Like that was my first commercial property inquiry. Yeah, people looking to
And
buy.
that's because
Why not?
your value as well, like you can then start to, and not fully dictate the terms, but if, for example, in a industry, you're bringing in 50% of your own business, when it comes to pay reviews, when it comes to potential, when it comes to all of these things later down the
Bonus
line,
season.
your mandate in terms of your remit going up, you can negotiate more because you're bringing more value.
That's very true. And then that essentially is you, as that is your question with the 9 to 5 life. That's you being able to make things even better for yourself, bring in some more
For
income.
sure. You mentioned obviously about, managing money. How are you with managing money?
I'd say I'm pretty good. I think like I've got a good balance of making sure I'm enjoying myself in the present, but also making sure I'm being smart for the future. And I think that principle's always started from me kind of working young and just like looking for the next role. And then even that me working in the estate agents, I initially was so used to then having some type of income coming in where I was like, I don't want to then stop this. I want to progress further and further.
Also,
So
when you start on like a very low per hour basis,
in JD,
you
yeah.
understand the value of money because when something's like £12, you're like,
Oh,
that's
hell
like
no.
3 hours of work. Like you
Yeah.
think to yourself, I can't really
You have
spend
to
that.
add that up,
So you
yeah.
understand the value of money, which is why, whether it's parents looking at their kids, whether it's kids watching this now and saying like, look, I don't want to get a job. It's not just about the role itself. It's about the skill set and the mentality that it will teach you. Because like parents will always say, if you can't manage £100, you're never going to be able to manage 1,000,000.
That's true. That's very true. It's about how you work with the little things now. And like one thing that I've been using is like a lifetime ISA for to give an example of a way that I've been smart with my money and the importance of building up your credit score as well. Always from young I've been watching like YouTube videos on how to better your finances from now. And like there's a lot of videos now that's like it'll be someone who's maybe 60 saying this is what I would have done in my 20s if I was you. And then I'm always watching those type of videos because it's just real life advice. So lifetime ISA, if you don't know, it's like a savings account which is backed by the government where you can save up to 4,000 a year and get £1,000 tax free. So that has been super useful for me, like with my home buying goals. And also with building the credit score, I use something called Lockbox where you basically are just saving into a normal savings account with Lockbox. And because you've paid every month in consistently for like a year, that essentially they would report that to like TransUnion and it would boost your credit score. And then you get that money that you've been putting in there for a year back at the end anyway. So it's like a savings.
Good stuff. I don't like TransUnion, but I like the rest of them.
Yeah.
I don't like only because it's American. They don't care. Like when I was like, but I didn't pay that late. They're like, well, computer says no. But yeah, in general, it's good to just like all of the, like whether it's TransUnion, Experian, Equifax, check my file, just using all of them and protect your credit score with
Absolutely, your
everything.
whole life.
Like, if you see something, like, don't brush it under the carpet. Don't think, it'll go in a couple of months. Like, if it wasn't your fault,
Yeah.
then appeal that.
Definitely, I agree with you, because some people get into like a big mess with that. Like, even it will affect you down the line. Like, when I was working in lettings, for example, all the experience I've had rotating into different teams have been so valuable because I learned new things. But in lettings, a lot of the time we'd have applicants who might have like a CCJ because maybe they didn't pay a little parking ticket
Yeah.
or something, and now they can't even rent because they get denied referencing, and that's just so sad. Because then you get calls like, oh, but it wasn't actually my fault. It was this happened. And then it's like, I'm the agent. I can't really do nothing.
Yeah.
You need to talk to the court. So it's like, it's very important.
No, for sure. Obviously, touching on obviously your lifetime ISA, you're still very young. Keep
Yeah.
saying that. Keep reminding you. But
She's reminding me now.
yeah, no, I'm doubling down because I'm just reminding you what you said about me. What about you investing in property? Is that something that, with all of this, exposure to the market,
Yeah.
is it something that you still want to do? Is it scared you off? Where do you sit with that?
Yeah, something that I'm working on currently,
Okay,
and
amazing.
I've always had a dream to do it. So yeah, I'm working on that currently at the moment, and I feel like the experience that I've had in the industry has been so valuable, because if I'm having questions of, do you suggest I get a home buyer survey before I speak to a solicitor? Even though I already advise people on this, but then when it's like yourself actually doing it, you're like, oh, hold on, let me make sure I'm doing it all correctly. So having that network of my boss and like my team and my colleagues to ask those questions to, what area should I invest in? Because I'm around people that have been in the industry for 20 years. They've had the best part of the market that they experienced, where they invested like 15 years ago, and then in like prime central London, and now they're reaping the big rewards of owning like £1 million apartments. So asking them, what do you think about the market now moving forward then for investing personally? And they will give me like the real advice of what they think.
And I think that's something that, from you hearing you speak, you've never been afraid to not know everything. And you touched on it earlier, like, be curious.
Yeah, ask questions.
Because you don't know what you don't know. And until you find out and you go and get the information from those that have walked the path before you, it can be invaluable. So we're going to watch this space.
Yes.
Obviously, hopefully we're going to be seeing the whole, at some point in a very near future, the whole content journey of you buying your first home. That's what we're going to see process. Soon. So you've had a lot of success, and I think one thing I always find interesting is how that success potentially affected like personal life, like relationship with friends. Were they, because they're doing something completely different. They're like, you're kind of 2 years into a career. They're like, still doing refreshers week, like a lot going on. How have you found that balance?
I feel like some people say when you do an apprenticeship, you're losing the uni life experience or the social life because you're just working 9 to 5. There's no time. But I think I've been fine with it because I have my friends that are going to university. I've been friends with them for like maybe 10 years now. And I'll go to their university campus. I've been to like one of my friends, she's in Manchester, I have a friend in Oxford. Like I will travel to go and see them, or they'll travel to come and see me in London, and we'll go and have like a nice night out dinner in London. So I think it's very important to still nurture those relationships that you had from the beginning if they are still of value, like you still have similar mindsets, because people in uni still have similar mindsets to people that are already working. But then also if you maybe do, sometimes it's been a case where maybe I don't really relate to someone anymore because their mindset's completely different to me. So we just naturally go our separate ways. But I'm grateful that I've still managed to keep my friendship group.
That's good.
Yeah, pretty strong.
That's good.
And they've been really motivating as well. And I've also taught them new things. Like I'm teaching them things that I'm learning as well in my role.
That's good. So you're not gatekeeping. That's good.
Yeah, I'm not gatekeeping. We come up together.
You've obviously viewed a lot of really nice homes. Is there any property that's really stuck out to you where it just wowed you?
Yes. One thing is like every single time I've been able to like, for example, I started in residential sales. So I've been able to work with like shared ownership clients who are just trying to get onto the ladder and they don't really know the next best alternative for them, to then being able to work on like selling a £50 million house in like Mayfair. It's just insane. I'm trying to describe things I've seen, like I've seen such crazy things like pools. Like pools always amaze me. Paddle courts in your own home, tennis courts, huge acre of land for golf pots as well. Um, what else have I seen?
Golf pots is crazy, by the way.
Yeah, like you got your own golf land, like land of like 18-acre plot of land. It's crazy. And then a family crest, like people have actually designed their homes with family crests as well. Like they design their own and they've got that as branded throughout their home. Plunge pools.
There's just so much. I guess it's the
There's a
exposure
lot.
to what is possible.
Yeah, it's very motivating.
Did you never find it demotivating on the other side? Like in terms of when you see so much wealth
Yeah.
and there's like a big divide. Like, have you ever looked at it and just it's kind of been like, life's not fair?
I feel like it's taught me, like, I'm always curious, like, what does this person actually do? How did they get here? Did they have a business? Did they buy a business? Did they sell a business? I'm always really curious. Regarding like demotivation, I feel like I've not really been demotivated. I've always been motivated because I'm like, okay, wow, this is possible for me. So why not try and just, the sky is the limit. Just try and be more strategic with my goals. And it's never been really demotivating, to be honest. Because sometimes there's like been that stereotype of to get mega rich, you have to betray people, push people out of the way, like do crazy things. But I don't think that's the way, there's always other great
You
ways.
can share 'em regardless. That's good. I think like I always like to leave people with some advice as like sort of like the final words. You see, I know you're a massive advocate for degree apprenticeships, but if you were going to give somebody some advice now for just, I guess, kind of following in your footsteps, what advice would you have for them?
My best advice would be to not be afraid to take those untraditional routes, and also not thinking that a career path or a particular goal which you might want to attain is too big to achieve. Always being curious. So like we've kind of discussed a lot on this podcast episode, like asking questions to those professionals that you want to be like. Networking is very important as well, and also quality over quantity. So is this event that you're going to be worth your time? What skills do you even want to gain from it? What knowledge do you want to gain from it before even stepping into that room? Because otherwise you're going into a networking event and you don't even know what questions you're asking people, and it's like it's not going to be worth your time. So really thinking, what do I want to gain from this? And even with every conversation you have, what do I want to gain from this? What do you want to teach others as well? Having a good plan in place, thinking, where do I see myself in 5 years? It's definitely achievable, but how am I going to get there?
I think that's all great advice. Look, I'm not going to ask you where you're going to be in 5 years, but make sure if you haven't already, make sure everyone goes and connects with Mary Felicia Gomez, aka MFG. How can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Mary Felicia with an extra A at the end. On TikTok, I'm She Corporate, and on YouTube, I'm Mary Felicia. And I'm also doing some really great property tours at the moment. So stay tuned, as well as a podcast, which I will be interviewing amazing guests on as well.
Wow. So there is a lot going on. That has been another episode of the PBK podcast. If you haven't already, make sure you like this video, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm going to be back next week with another amazing guest. Peace.
Bye.